Renault has been at the forefront of the electric revolution for a decade and more already, but it's changing tack with this, the new Renault Megane E-Tech electric. I say change tack because, of course, up until now, Renault and its sister brand Nissan have always had their electric cars as standalone models that run alongside their petrol or diesel options. But here I stand next to a pure electric Renault Megane. It doesn't get much more of a bread and butter family hatchback model than this. Now, Renault is going to continue selling the current Megane alongside this car after this goes on sale in 2022, so expect both to be on sale until about 2024. But clearly, Renault is changing its direction and we're going to start seeing the pure electric cars in more of its mainstream models. Now, the Megane E-Tech, as I said, is going on sale from the end of 2022 and it's going to get two different battery options, a 40 kilowatt hour and a 60 kilowatt hour, and that is going to offer a range of between 186 miles and 292 miles. Before I go any further and talk about the design of this car and have a quick drive in it, don't forget to subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel, like this video and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our videos. It's quite a striking piece of design, the new Megane. Some call it an SUV, but not Renault's own design boss, Laurens van den Akker, who we spoke to on this early international launch of the Megane. He considers it a family hatchback with a bit of style vim taken from various other sectors. And if that's what he says, we're happy to agree. Certainly, the high waistline, aggressively frowning fascia and wide stance speaks to the fact that this was originally designed as the new Megane RS. But everyone liked it so much that they decided to make it the design for the everyday Megane. It's practical too. So the Megane is based on a brand new electric platform that Renault and Nissan have developed together, and that means that you get a really sizable boot. I have to say there is quite a big lip up here, but the depth of this boot is really impressive. So you're going to get a good amount of stuff in there. You get your chunky buggy and all of that stuff, no problem. And you get plenty of rear passenger space as well. So if I sit behind myself here, there's plenty of leg room. The floor doesn't feel too high actually as well, which is another thing you sometimes get with EVs. Loads of headroom, and yeah, it feels like a really comfortable place to be back here, I must say. The cabin up here is very special too. The large portrait touchscreen has something of a Tesla vibe to it, but it has got Google Maps and Siri voice control built in, and it also gets Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Charging tops out at 130 kilowatts, which will get you an 80% battery in around about 30 minutes even in the 60 kilowatt hour Megane, while a full charger to 7 kilowatt home wallbox will be complete in around about 10 hours. Renault have gone to some great lengths to try and keep the weight down in this car and to make it good to drive, so they keep referring to it as the GTI of this class, which I think is quite strong, isn't it? We won't mention that to Volkswagen maybe, but there you go. So this battery that is in this car, it's quite thin. It's 110 mils, which is impressively thin by EV battery standards. And it's also mounted very low in the car, so in fact the centre of gravity on this car is 90 mil lower than on the combustion engined Megane. And that is pretty impressive, I have to say. And you know what? I think it does tell. We haven't had the longest of drives in this car so far. We are out here in France, the roads are pretty smooth. But even just kind of going on this urban drive, round some roundabouts, this kind of thing, you can feel that this car controls itself very well. And it's got quite a light turn in that you maybe wouldn't expect from an EV. It's got quite a nice, it's got a really nice feel to it. It's got a bit of vim to the handling, and that comes through even just driving it in some pretty mundane roads, to be honest. More than that, I think it shows in terms of the ride comfort, because lightness isn't just about efficiency and making a car handle nicely. It's also much, much easier to make a car ride well if it doesn't weigh loads. So having that sort of slightly lighter battery and having aluminium body parts, even the electric motor itself in this car is a new motor that's been developed in-house, and that's lighter and more efficient. And I really do think that's beginning to tell. So something like 1.6 tonnes this car, which is definitely one of the lighter cars. It is front-wheel drive, the Megane, and it's got 215 brake horsepower and about 300 newton meters of torque. And it's a bit damp today, and I have to say it's definitely got a few traction issues if you do decide to try and make the most of the performance, which is 0 to 62 in something like 7.5 seconds. It does tend to lose traction a little. And maybe it does understeer a little, I think, partly because actually it's got quite fast steering, this car. So I think you can go into a corner and you feel the car wash wide. But I would add, it has also got quite a lot of communication. You can really feel what's going on at the front end in this car. And I'm not sure that you could say the same thing about a lot of other cars, including things like the E2008, maybe even the ID3, that are sort of the key rivals for this car. We didn't have enough time in the Megane E-Tech electric to get a really good grasp on what its real-world efficiency might be, but on the middling temperatures and on a fairly fast rural route that we did, we saw 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour, which equates to around about 230 miles per charge in the big battery Renault Megane. That's not too bad at all next to its rivals. I do think that the platform that we've got here, the brand new CMF EV platform that Renault Nissan have designed, I think the incremental gains that they've made in that in terms of the weight saving and from the battery technology that they've now got, from this lighter motor, it's all kind of small changes, small improvements, but it all adds up. And I have to say that this car does feel quite light of foot for an EV. I think this feels like the closest thing to perhaps kind of a performance electric hatch that I've driven. And I really, really like that about it, despite the fact that it also feels quite comfortable, very quiet, very easy to drive. I really like it. I even like the fact that the brake regen modes, you can control those on the steering wheel with the paddles, and they're very progressive, so you can step it right down to sort of one pedal driving around town, or you can have a much more moderate brake regen mode. So I think Renault's got it kind of spot on, really. I do want to drive this a bit more and on UK roads before I give any kind of definitive final verdict. And of course at CarGurus UK, we will make sure that we get this in the UK as soon as we can, and up against one of its direct rivals to see how it really fares, because it has got strong competition in the Volkswagen ID3, in the E2008, and in all of those other sort of, £35,000 family hatchbacks. But I think Renault is onto something here. I think this looks great. I think it drives really nicely. I like the interior, all the infotainment and everything. This feels like a huge step forward for the company. I think that the Megane could have found a new lease of life. Don't forget to head to cargurus.co.uk for a whole host of fantastic used cars from top-rated dealers.